Hey everybody, it's Mike from Fishing the Mid-South. Today we're going to test crimps and we're going to be using Sufix Superior 80-pound mono. We're going to be using these swivels. These are the Go Chewer. They call them size 6. They're rated for 168 pounds. These are stainless steel ball bearing swivels. Now when they say they're size 6, this is a 3/0 from Eagle Claw next to it. So it's about 3 centimeters on this one and about 3.5 centimeters on the Eagle Claw. So there's not a big difference between them in size, and the Go Chewer is actually rated at a higher strength than the Eagle Claw. Now these come in a 200 pack. There will be a link in the description to those. There'll be a link to everything shown here in the description today. I did test these on my strength tester that's only rated for 115 pounds. They got up to 165 before I just stopped before something broke very badly. The way that I do my crimps, you just take the oval crimp, slide it on, put it through the swivel, and then you slide the line back through. So you've got this loop. Now I'm testing two ways, one of which is going to be where I burn the end of it and mushroom it down, and the other is going to be just without that. So in this case, I just kind of snug this down pretty close there, and you'll notice that the swivel is oval. So when you crimp it, you want to crimp on the tall piece, the tall side of it, not the flats, not the shorter side. You want to crimp it down like this. And then once you have that, you just take your crimper, put it in the crimper, and they are marked as far as what size these are for. And this is for the 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter, as you can possibly see there. And we're just going to squeeze until it bottoms out. And you can tell it bottoms out because you can lock it in place if you want it. So that's how that is done. Okay, for the ones I'm going to do the burnt end, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run the line through the crimp, run it through the swivel, run it back through the crimp. I'm going to have a fairly long tag end. I'm going to fold the other end down just a little bit out of the way. And then we are going to melt this. Maybe not quite that far, but you get the idea. Or let it cool down. Now we're not pushing it up against anything to set it or anything. I'm just checking to make sure it's cooled down enough. It has. So then we just kind of pull like so until we get kind of close up here at the front, and then we just crimp it down like we did before. So for these tests, we're going to use 3 different types of sleeves. So the first 2 are both aluminum sleeves, both are oval, and then the third one is a brass sleeve. It's a double barrel. So you'll notice that the first one is significantly shorter than the second one. First one is the High Seas brand. High Seas Grand Slam. And the second 2 are both by the brand J. Shan Mei. And there will be links to both, or to all of this in the description. So what I've done is, the first test, we're going to use the High Seas with the burnt end, the mushroomed end on it. The second test is going to be without these, second set of tests. The third set of tests is going to be with the long J. Shan Mei. I've got enough room on there that I can crimp this sleeve twice, whereas I can crimp the High Seas one time. And then we have the brass double barrel crimp sleeve from J. Shan Mei. So that'll be our 4th set of tests. So we're going to have 3 tests on each one, and stick around, we'll show you the results. Okay, we're getting ready for test number 1. Some things I want to point out is we want to watch up here on the swivel. We want to watch right here to see if that closes up, because what happens is the line will actually tend to slip through some of these crimps. So we want to watch for that, and this is just a protector to keep the swivel from flying off when it breaks. And we're ready for test number 1. These are the crimps that have the little mushroomed end on them. Here we go. Test 1. We got to 80.7. As you'll notice, this crimp did slide down and we ran out of room. So let's pull this back a little bit. Let me adjust the tester. Okay, we'll zero that out. We got to 80.7. Let's try again. Again, this is still the first test. 95.5. And as you can see, the crimp is what broke. Not a bad result, considering this is 80-pound mono. So again, we had 95.5 on test 1. Zero it out and start test number 2. $76.4, and again, the crimp is what gave way. There's a swivel by itself. So test number 2 came in at 76.4 pounds. We'll go for test number 3. Notice the knot slip, the crimp slips. 67.8 on test number 3. And once again, the crimp is what let loose. And that's okay. That's what we're trying to test, is the breaking strength of the crimp. So those were with the mushroomed ends, and these are going to be... So we just tested 3 times with the mushroomed ends, with the little melted end. These do not have the melted end, but are still the high seas crimp. So we'll get started with test number 1 on this. Again, keep your eye for the crimp to slip here. 62.0. So again, test number 1 gave us 62.0. Let's go for test number 2. $51.0. So test number 2 gave us 51.0. And here comes test number 3. $53.6. And that one, you saw the crimp actually just pulled through, or the line pulled through the crimp. So that is the 3 test without the mushroomed end. Okay, now we're going to try the J. Shanmei aluminum crimps. Again, these are the oval aluminum crimps, the long ones that we did a double crimp on. So again, we want to pay attention right here. And then this has a fairly long tag. So just kind of watch there and watch that tag in. Pull number 1. And as you saw, it slid out completely at 60.5 pounds. Test 1 gave us 60.5 pounds. Here's test 2. $57.1, and as you saw, the crimp pulled through on that one. Test 2 gave us 57.1 pounds. Zero it out. Here we go with test 3. And once again, the crimp pulled through at 68 pounds even. So now we're going to go with the brass crimps and see what they do for us. And as you probably know, the aluminum, or I'm sorry, the little brass crimps take a different kind of crimper. So again, we're going, these are double barrel, the others are ovals. So you go through one of the barrels, line through the swivel, and then bring your line back through. And again, we're going to just kind of pull that up pretty close to the swivel. We're going to use these kind of crimps, crimpers. You want a little bit of the crimp sticking out at each end. And there's your crimp. I'm sorry, test number 1 on these crimps. 40.3. Interestingly enough, the line is what broke on this one. Now, let's see. So both ends of the crimp are still there, or both, the loop is still there around the swivel. It looks like it broke right at the edge of the crimp. So that's a difference. We'll go with test number 2. $53.1. Test 2 gave us 53.7. Now we're ready for test number 3. That was a weak little showing. That was 42.5, and as you can see, the crimp pulled. Hey, well, that went differently than I expected. I don't know about you. I really expected that the longer aluminum crimps would have won because you could get 2 different crimps on the sleeve itself. So the high C's, that was the shorter aluminums with the burnt end, came in at 95.5, 76.4, and 67.8. Then we went to the high C's, same brand of crimp, same everything, except we didn't burn the end. I was surprised to find out how much of a difference burning that end makes. Test 1 was 62.0, test 2 was 51.0, and test 3 was 53.6. So then we went to the J. Shanmei aluminum sleeves. Again, these were the ones you could crimp twice. Again, they didn't have the burnt end either. Only that first set had the burnt end. Test number 1 was 60.5, test number 2 57.1, and test number 3 68.0. I really thought this was going to win. And so group number 4 was the J. Shanmei brass sleeves. The test number 4 was the J. Shanmei double barrel brass sleeves. Those didn't do well. 40.3 for test number 1, 53.7 for test number 2, and 42.5 for test number 3. So we've answered a lot of questions, but we just came up with new questions. And that is, well, how is the J. Shanmei aluminum doing with 2 crimps and the burnt end? Because it did significantly better than the high C's without the burn. So we definitely are going to come back for another round of that and test the J. Shanmei aluminum with the burnt end. And I'm sure you also want to know, well, how does the crimp stack up against the Palomar knot or the trilene knot? So we'll test those as well in the next round. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you on the next one. Please like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. We are on our way to 800 bazillion subscribers. You can be a part of that. Just click the subscribe button. See you next time.